Howdy and welcome, I'm Mike, your board gaming every dude, and this is Board Games for One, and we are going to review Decktective, The Will Without an Heir. This is a detective game in a box. It's less than $15. I think it was $13 when I got it, and it is for 1 to 6 players. Now I'm not going to give away spoilers, however I will be opening the box, so if you don't want to see anything about it, which I don't know why you'd be watching this if that was the case, then please skip forward to final thoughts maybe. First, I just want to show you what the game is very briefly, and then final thoughts about solo play versus multiplayer play. In the box, you've got these little red, clips, and you won't use them for most of the game, but do set them to the side as you will use them at some point. I'm going to walk you through the first 10 cards as it doesn't spoil anything, but it helps you with seeing how the game gets set up. It's a pretty cool setup in that you have a 3D scene. So we go through our first page, it gives us a caution, and it gives us an introduction. So our instructions are on these first 10 cards that you flip over in order. You follow the instructions exactly, put the stuff you're not using to the side. We get the goal of the game is to solve a murder mystery. We got to figure out, how did this guy die? Was it suicide? Was it murder? Who did it? There's also some theft involved. There's some side investigation that you can do for extra points. You win the game by solving the case, of course, but also you get ranked by points as with other detective games, and you see how well you did based on how many points you have. You can only play through this case one time, however the elements are all reusable, so you can give it to friends, have friends play it, or just show them how to play it and enjoy watching them go through. Alright, we get the goal of the game, and finally we get an introduction to the story. This one we see takes in place in the 17th century in 1698 in a country villa. Very cool. A man is found dead. I won't spoil the rest of it. You can look at the box for all of that, but here's what's neat. We're going to put this in the play area, the introduction. We set up the crime scene. The instructions tell us how to do it. We'll put that to the side. But this is a really cool idea, I think. I believe it goes like this. Yes, it goes like this. So you put the boxes inside, and you've got a crime scene. So I'm going to put it together, and I'll turn it around for you for the camera. But it should be all set if I remember it all correctly. Put in a nice little rug, and then let's put on our grass. So we're already to card 9. We're almost done with the instructions. Let's flip the yard. They even put a little piece of grass there, and if you don't want to bend the card, you can just lay it underneath. But this is a 3D crime scene. I'll let you look overhead as well. And the cool thing with solving this case is you actually have to analyze, this isn't just a gimmick, you have to analyze the crime scene inside and outside, and to a certain degree, changes may or may not be made to the crime scene. So that's pretty cool. So we've set it up, and we flip over to number 10, where we get an idea of the investigation. We're told about the crime scene. And we turn this over, and this creates what's called the archive. So you have an archive, you have a hand of cards, and then you have your tableau in front of you of clues from your cards. Card number 11 tells us how to set up for the players. For one player, you get 5 cards in your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If it were another player count, no problem, it tells you right on the card what to do. We get the rules. I'm going to read it because it's just 2 paragraphs. You can always read any face-up cards on the table, like the introduction. You cannot show your cards, nor talk about them, nor write down any notes. That only applies to multiplayer, obviously. Well, I mean, I talk to myself when I play solo, but it's not relevant for solo. However, you can read the title of the cards in your hand out loud, and in order to decide what to play together with the other players. So for multiplayer, that will be important. Flip this over, and we have instructions on how to play the game. I'm just going to briefly run over it with you here. So I'm going to show you solo, and then briefly I'll explain how the multiplayer goes. So you have cards in your hand. Let's go overhead. we've got, hopefully I've got some control of the glare. We have 5 cards. And you can see they all have a different number, 21121. What that means is I need to have that many number of cards in the archive in order to have enough research done to play this. So what that means is I have 1 card in my archive. I cannot play the Words of Willem Kloos because I don't have 2 cards in my archive. So I have a choice. I can either play a card face up on the table, it stays there as a clue, or I can discard face down into my archive, which is what I'm going to do. I now have 2 cards in my archive. After you play or put a card in the archive, then you draw from the top of the deck so that you have your 5 cards in hand. I don't believe there's any time that you really go over 5, but if you do, then you have to discard down to 5 cards if I recall correctly. This is how you play the game. So you read the clues, you take a look and see, all right, what do I want to play? You know what? I think I need to learn more about the safe. Because, look, I can discard, I can look at this, try to memorize it, and put it in the archive. You're allowed to do that, but eventually it gets hard to memorize the details that you really need, and that's why you don't take notes in this game. All right, you can take notes about what's face up on the table if you like, but not about cards that go in the archive or that are in your hand. Alright, so I would choose to play something like, I'm going to play the safe. I can't. I need 3 in an archive. So you know what? I'm going to play the personal assistant. So I have this clue. I'm going to read it, figure out what's going on. I might look around in the crime scene, see what's happening, pick up a card, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to archive. See, now I could either play this and I have a complete story, or if I'm like, you know what she has to say, I don't think it's important enough, I can archive it. Now I have 3 in the archive and I can play the safe if I like. As you continue drawing cards, and I won't show you more beyond this, then the numbers needed in the archive go up. So what that represents is it takes more time and effort to look into that clue or interrogate that witness. So by the end of the game, you have lots of cards out here in front of you, a whole lot more than this. And when it comes to the end of the game, you are asked a series of questions. And all you have to do is keep flipping through, that's it. You just keep flipping through until the game tells you that the game has ended and you now must solve the investigation. And then the cards guide you through. I'm not going to flip through because I don't want you to know when or how it happens. I do want you to know that there are twists. There are plot twists. So not every card is exactly the same like this. Somewhere in here, you might get a surprise plot twist that changes the game up a little bit. So pretty cool. All right, so final thoughts about this as a solo game. As a solo game, it shines well. I love the 3D investigation. However, since you as the solo player do get to see every single card, then it comes up to how you can know everything. And if you have a really good memory, you can remember quite a bit because you will have seen everything that goes in the archive. So in a way, that gives you a bit of an advantage over a multiplayer game, because in a multiplayer game, each of you will have, so I played a 2-player game, each of you will have a hand of, say, 4 cards, right? Well, even though the other player can read the title, they could say, The Words of Willem Kloos, I have that. So you could decide, well, I have another card that has to do with Willem Kloos, maybe I'll keep it, maybe I won't. But whatever they choose to archive, I don't really know what that is. So you have more limited information in a multiplayer game. However, you have 2 brains thinking together in different ways, which may balance out that advantage. So ultimately, I think this plays best as 2-player or more. I've only played it on 2, so I can't say for the 3 to 6 players how that goes, but I imagine it's quite fun because I like the interaction where you're both trying to decide, you both have partial information and you're working together, but you don't know everything. So it was a great time. The crime scene was super useful. We spent a lot of time looking at the details of this crime scene. So it is not just a gimmick. As far as playing it solo, it still shines. For myself, if I buy it, which I absolutely would love to buy, if they do another case, I would love to buy another one. There are 3 others out right now. None of the themes appeal to me. I liked that this was just a straight up murder mystery. There was nothing superstitious going on, and I appreciated that. So if they do another like that, I will nab it in a heartbeat. I would probably save it for when I can play with 2 players. But look, you can have a great time playing this solo. I just think it shines better at multiplayer. That's it. If you enjoy this, please check out this next video for Decktective City of Angels. It might interest you. Give me a like if that was helpful. Love you all. See you later.